Nature, she doesn't mess about. When you take a ship into the deep ocean, you'd best beware because she can really you up. Way back before all this crypto malarkey, a young filmmaker used to hike up mountains and film the bravest souls in the world backflipping off 100-foot cliffs and skiing away as if nothing happened. This is the big mountain. You fall, you die. The most skilled riders here, they don't just shred though. They understand that the camera sees everything, demands more than athleticism. It demands grace, beauty, and drama. And they know that there's one surefire way to create it. Trigger an avalanche. Uncontrolled, these can destroy everything in their path, but in the right hands, they are spectacular. A deadly tango with one of the most awe-inspiring forces in nature. And there is one fundamental law of avalanches. They always travel downhill. But in the perilous, chaotic world of blockchain, rule breakers rule the roost. For here, avalanches defy gravity. They rush skywards, searching for ever higher peaks to conquer.
$180 million is some peak, but this may just be the foothills for a project that has raced into the top 20 projects by market cap. It's a blockchain whose sole purpose is powering the very best decentralized financial applications. And out of respect for its founder and core community, we will be presenting much of this show in a language you probably won't understand. And for this, we make no apology.
Bir saniye. Sen Türkçe bilmiyorsun ki. Nasıl yapacağız bunu?
İşin biraz zor gibi.
Evet, biraz zor da benim aklımda bir fikir var. Sana bir ayran vereyim. Bu iyi gelir sana. Ama dur, onu bir çalkalayacaksın.
Çalkalı?
Güzelce bir çalkala, aynen.
Ha. From the Black Sea, this is the Defiant. Aave! It is really hard to get anyone to pay attention to alternative layer ones, and I get it. I transact probably 30 times a day on Ethereum at the moment. It's where all the action is. So why should I care about alternative layer ones? Well, I'll show you.
So there's this horrifying thing that you can do to take stock of how much gas you've spent on Ethereum. You go to fees.wtf, and this lovely website will tell you how much you spent on gas. So I have spent 14.363 ETH on gas, and right now that's $44,872. $44,872. That's somebody's annual salary. That's how much I spend on gas. And that is ridiculous.
High cost, low speed has become hyper-normalized to the extent that the whole market seems to be crippled by inertia. Nobody wants to go try technology that has been specifically engineered to solve these issues, and by people with the very highest level of understanding of what it takes to do so. And I have a privileged outlook here since I worked for Harmony, another POS high-performance chain that we'll be looking at in more detail in the near future. You could say I have seen how the sausage is made. Now I know that there is a maxi lurking in all of us, and that's no bad thing. We all want to be comfortable. But as always, I urge you to keep an open mind and allow yourself to be caught up in the avalanche. Coming up, we'll be looking at the visionary leader, Emin Gunsira, the tech behind the platform, what's so special about it, the staking setup, their DeFi offering, and where they are headed. Much to chew on. So let's take a moment to give our weary jaws time to masticate in peace while we hear from our sponsors. Aave, fun fact, the name is taken from the Finnish word for ghost, and it is a decentralized open source and non-custodial liquidity protocol on Ethereum. Depositors earn interest by providing liquidity to lending pools, while borrowers can obtain loans by tapping into these pools with variable and stable interest rate options. Deposit in Aave protocol and receive A tokens, which accrue interest every second right in your wallet, and yeah, you can watch your balance just going up every second. Swap any of your deposited assets at any time to get the best yields on the market. And for the devs out there, Aave features access to DeFi building blocks like flash loans and credit delegation. Aave protocol liquidity pools are now available on Ethereum and the sidechain Polygon, and on Avalanche. Don't let high gas costs keep you out of Ethereum. A balancer, the gas-optimized vault architecture, makes trading cheaper than anywhere else. Liquidity providers can optimize their fee earnings using the dynamic fee system that automatically adjusts to market conditions. You can also use asset managers to lend out idle assets, dramatically increasing your capital efficiency. And because Balancer is an open platform for flexible, automated markets, you can choose from stable pools or weighted pools, and in the future more designs will be created that we don't even know about yet. Check it out at balancer.fi. Okay, so let's break it down then. Avalanche is a high-speed, proof-of-stake blockchain offering the same kind of performance gains as your other favorite alternative layer ones. But when you dig in, the architecture seems to offer a mix of ideas familiar from Cardano, with computational tasks devolved onto separate chains. Then there's the easy deployment of new chains like we see with Tendermint and Polkadot, and some really novel designs for validated deployment. There's a lot to unpack there. But before we do, let's take a step back to see where Avalanche came from. Now, every major piece of technology of the last 50 years has had a key figure in its history, a visionary leader. Jobs, Bezos, Coltherium.
I look at my penguin and I smile. I realize the happiness that my penguin gives me.
Sorry about that. It's just a reaction I have when I hear that name. Everything's good. For Avalanche, this visionary leader is Emun Gun Sira.
İstanbul çocuğuyum. Ben 4 lisan biliyorum.
He's a Turkish-American computer scientist, associate professor of computer science at Cornell University, and he's known for his contributions to peer-to-peer systems, operating systems, and computer networking. Thank you, Wikipedia. Now, Avalanche was first incubated at Cornell University, where the research was led by Gun Sira himself, assisted by Maofan Yin and Kevin Seknicki. Now, this led to the formation of the Aave Labs technology company, whose purpose was to develop an alternative blockchain technology for the financial sector. Emin is a rock star. And I remember my old boss, Stephen Say, at Harmony talking about him with huge respect. He's the real deal. And he's developed a certain reputation.
I have a reputation. I earned it by being fair and square at every level.
And he also has a very clear vision for the world Avalanche is being built to serve.
Every asset should be digital, and it should be a coin family on Aave. These coins themselves can pick and choose from a variety of scripting languages we support. There isn't a single scripting language.
Flexibility, an accommodating scripting environment, diversity. Listening to Emin, you can hear his deep frustration with maxis.
Store of value narrative is out the door. Uncorrelated store of value gone.
And it's as if anti-maximalism is baked into the very design of the protocol itself.
We're the only coin where we have this other approach, where we have the Aave coin, but we also envision having thousands of other coins.
So let's get deep into the weeds and take a look at what makes Avalanche unique at the protocol level. So, the headlines. Avalanche is a platform for creating custom blockchain networks and decentralized applications. It has a high transaction throughput of 4,500 transactions per second. Avalanche's native Aave X coin has a cap supply of 720 million. It's used for staking and for paying network transaction fees. Now, according to the Aave Labs website, they want to digitize all the world's assets. That's a noble claim. And they make another bold claim that it's actually the fastest smart contracts platform in the blockchain industry as measured by time to finality, and has the most validators securing its activity of any proof-of-stake protocol. Again, big claims. Now, time to finality is a tough one for me to measure myself, but we can do a quick comparison between some other chains when it comes to validators, for instance.
So we're going to start by looking at the Avalanche Block Explorer, and here it is. It's actually a very nice Block Explorer. And we can look at the validator page, and here we can see there are 1,037 validators, which seems like a pretty high number. What I did ask Avalanche was how many of those validators listed here were run by the Avalanche team themselves, because when you spin up a network, a lot of the time, a huge amount of your overhead costs are in running your own nodes. So you have to run a number of nodes. But at Harmony, for instance, we had a bunch of external nodes that were run by the team. And then the idea was to slowly devolve that to the point where it was entirely run externally. I asked the Avalanche team about this. They said of that 1,037, maybe 3 or 4 were run by Aave Labs themselves. That means that they have over 1,000 nodes run externally. And that is, I'm going to be honest here, pretty impressive. So let's take a look at Solana now by way of comparison, because it's a pretty decent benchmark for Avalanche here. Solana has 958 validators, and I believe that, again, almost all of those are external. Don't hold me to that. I don't have the stats to hand. But Avalanche has more. Another interesting comparison will be Elrond, who are currently sitting around 52, 51, something like that in market cap. So we've had a look at Elrond before. They claim that there are over 3,000 active validators on the network. Again, I don't know how many of those are run by the team themselves, but imagine that they were all external. That would be mighty impressive. And of course, these are they're a sharded network, so it's a slightly different setup, but I would imagine that there's still a decent chunk of those are run by the team themselves. But, you know, you have to do a bit more digging to find out exactly what's going on there. But still, for Avalanche, this number, very impressive. And if we want to do a little bit more of a comparison, now Ethereum is still proof of work. So what's validating the network are nodes and not validators per se, but it's, you know, it gives you an idea of who's on that network. And they have a total of 5,272 nodes currently running. The picture's a little bit muddied in terms of decentralization, because where are those nodes being run and by what number of people those nodes are being run, because you have node farms. But still, ETH is very decentralized comparatively. Of course, the most decentralized of all is Bitcoin, as we know. Now, another big claim that Avalanche makes is being eco-friendly. Now, I believe this really boils down to the fact that it's not proof of work. It's the same claim made by quite a number of blockchains, and unless I can see a carbon offsetting program to really ratify that claim, I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt. And I Googled it, and here's what I found. Here is the Avalanche Outdoors Eco-Friendly Recycled 900D Polyester 20-liter roll-top backpack. I do not think that has anything to do with Avalanche and its eco-friendliness. Therefore, I will dismiss that claim out of hand. But there you go. So what then is the secret sauce behind Avalanche's technology?
The core of Avalanche's architecture is a subnetwork or subnet called the primary network. Now, a subnet is a group of transaction validator nodes that coordinate to reach consensus on the state of not one, but a set of blockchains. Now, the primary network secures 3 built-in blockchains. The first one is the exchange chain or X chain. There is a platform chain, a P chain, and there is a contract chain, the C chain. Now, the X chain is a platform for creating and trading crypto assets, including Avax. The P chain coordinates transaction validators. It tracks active subnets and enables the creation of new subnets and custom blockchains like this one, including private blockchains, and it uses the Snowman consensus protocol. The C chain facilitates the creation of smart contracts, and that is where all the lovely sweet stuff like NFTs and farming happens. Now, each blockchain in the Avalanche ecosystem is validated by a single subnet, but an individual subnet can validate multiple blockchains, and a validator node can be a member of many different subnets. A key aspect of Avalanche blockchains is the ability to design subnets that maintain particular properties, such as requiring validators to meet certain requirements for, say, regulatory purposes. For instance, a private blockchain built on the Avalanche crypto network could require its subnet's validators to complete KYC or AML screening, live in a certain country, or hold a specific type of license related to financial management in that country. In other words, not only can subnets limit their validators based on certain criteria, but validators can choose to be part of as many or as few subnets as they wish. Now, this creates a much richer environment for validators and incentives to build reputation as specialists within the validator community, all of which is rather delicious. Avalanche's architecture relies on a proprietary virtual machine known as the Avalanche Virtual Machine, AVM. Subnets built on the Avalanche platform can use the AVM to achieve consensus using the kind of traditional blockchain databases we're used to, such as the ones in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Cardano. But they can also reach consensus using other database structures like directed acyclic graphs or DAGs, like those used by IOTA, Phantom, or Nano. Again, more flexibility, more interoperability. Avalanche uses a bespoke flavor of POS called Snowball. Validators are required to stake at least 2,000 Aave X coins to participate in consensus, and that's $92,000 at today's price of $46. But smaller holders can also delegate as long as you hold at least 25 Aave X tokens, and that's around $1,150 today.
So staking value is always a bit of a dark art to figure out, but the place I like to go to for information is stakingrewards.com. It's giving you a pretty good rundown of each project, how much value is locked up in the protocol, and what the rewards are. And so here, the top 10 crypto assets by staked value. So this is the amount of value that is staked on the network. And remember, the amount of staked value indicates confidence in that network. So Cardano has, as we know, a staggering amount of value locked up, $60 million. No. 60 million? No, I think the number you're looking for is actually $60 billion. Billions. Billions, you idiot. Idiot. If I say millions after this, I mean billions. What a... And as we discussed in our Cardano episode, unlocking that staked value through liquid staking and piling that into DeFi is going to be the key to Cardano's next growth phase, I believe, anyway. Solana, number 2 on that list. The amount of staked value there, again, absolutely staggering. $32 million in locked value on Solana. The numbers just are incredible. Ethereum 2.0, well, that will probably eclipse all of them once it goes fully live. Polkadot, 16 million. USDC, Terra, and down here, number 7 on the list, Avalanche. So there's $10 million in staked value on Avalanche. And again, that feels pretty impressive. Now, looking at the rewards, Polkadot 13.47%, Avalanche 9.72%, Binance Smart Chain 15%. So Avalanche is paying out pretty handsomely at the moment for staking.
Within the Snowball consensus mechanism, validator nodes in a subnet repeatedly query each other to determine the validity of the network's transactions until they reach a common decision, and thus establish network-wide consensus. The more Aave X coins a node has staked, the more frequently it's queried. Low latency and high uptime are rewarded as you'd expect, but one unusual feature is that Avalanche doesn't slash node stakes if they behave maliciously. They're simply penalized by not receiving any reward, which is a little strange. Transaction fees on Avalanche are paid in Aave X, and that transaction fee is burned. It's destroyed forever. And if you interact with the C chain where smart contract operations happen, then a system of dynamic fees is used, much like the EIP 1559 system, with a base fee and a gas tip. And if you don't understand how that works, check out our recent video on the new MetaMask for a clearer understanding. Now, you can learn a huge amount by taking a spin through a protocol's block explorer. So let's do exactly that.
So this is the official blockchain explorer of the Avalanche network. And I have to say, this is probably one of the nicest explorers I've ever had a dig around in. It is sleek. The information I want is to hand. And it's just really fun to look around in. So on the front page, we have the usual statistics that you would want to see. There's one that's not there, which is block time. Basically, on Avalanche, there's no set block rate. So what happens is, as the network gets busier, more and more blocks are produced. But if it's less busy, then fewer blocks are produced. So it really scales according to demand. And that means that it's kind of difficult to set a block time. If we compare, for instance, Harmony, you can see the block latency here, which is effectively how fast a block is being produced, 2.25 seconds, which is fast. If you look at Solana, for instance, they have sub-second block time, so half a second to issue a block on Solana. And you can see, bong, bong, bong, bong, bong, bong, bong, bong. It is insane how fast they can produce a block. And then you can see in Solana, current TPS 4,000, it does move around a little bit. But again, Solana is a great benchmark for high speed, high throughput when we're examining these chains. If we go back to the Avalanche blockchain, though, if we go to the blockchains tab, we can see the P chain, the C chain, the X chain here, and all the different activities that are going on. We can check what blocks are there. One little detail that did make me laugh is, as we know, you can issue your own blockchain on Avalanche, and there are a few here which are interesting. Using one, you can see some here using the Ethereum EVM. We talked about how you can use your own different EVMs. But there's one here that someone has created called Your Docs Sucks, No Any Dev Helps. So someone has literally taken the time to troll Avalanche by creating their own blockchain, and with all the associated costs of that, who knows what those were, just to send a message. We can also look at the assets tab and see the different assets that are on Avalanche. There's 2,851 listed here. Who knows what most of them do. So if we click on an NFT here, for instance, this elite hacker, and open the tab, then it will give you the actual NFT. And I saw some that were animated, and you could see the NFT as well. I kind of like that. It's just, the whole website is really nicely designed. It's really nice to move around in. So let's have a look at that curious block time question. So we looked at the Harmony one, block latency 2.3. We can also have a look at Polygon. It gives us an average block time of 2.8 seconds. And funnily enough, the people that designed this Explorer for Polygon have done one for Avalanche as well. And you can see here that they figured out that the average block time is 1.2 seconds. Now, I looked at this yesterday, and it was around 2.6. And I thought that was comparable with Polygon, but now as I look at it, it's 1.2. So Avalanche, bit of a strange thing with the average block time, but essentially it is pretty fast. You can find the Avalanche ecosystem on their website, and if you scroll through, it's clear this is heavily geared towards DeFi and financial products. And if you're looking for a clear reason why Avalanche has shot up so hard recently, then it's probably got something to do with Avalanche Rush, which will bring DeFi blue chips Aave and Curve onto the platform. And this massive deployment of incentives does feel very reminiscent of Polygon's big adoption drive earlier this year. Now, of course, if you're going to entice users over, there needs to be something for them to do once they get there. In addition to Aave and Curve, well, there are plenty of other games for DeFi traders to play. There's Uniswap clone Pangolin, combined DEX and DeFi platform Trader Joe, there's a yield optimizer, Snowball, there's a yield compounder, Yield Yak, and there's a yield farm, Penguin, which seems to have, well, how would you read this?
Total silk, flying carpet. Be careful.
But the one that's really caught my attention is Benki, a decentralized money market whose TVL has absolutely flown to over $1 billion in less than a week. Now, considering that the entire TVL of the Avalanche network is 1.73 billion, that is quite something.
Without a shadow of a doubt, the biggest pain point in any alt Layer 1 activities is bridging. Now, you can, of course, just go to Binance and pick up AvaX tokens there, but this is decentralized finance. We don't touch that centralized, do we? So that means we need to use the newly launched Avalanche Bridge, and $1 billion in ETH assets have already crossed it.
Köprülüyor musun?
Yes, Emin. Yes, we are.
Hadi bir kaset koy da şöyle bir neşelenelim Semra.
So this is the Avalanche bridge, and it looks pretty much like any other bridge I've ever tested out. All we're going to do is we're going to send some Ethereum, so we need to connect your MetaMask wallet, and then what I'm going to do is just click and send like a very small amount, like 0.01 ETH, We're just doing a test here. And what's interesting about Aave is they say they will airdrop Aave X tokens if you send over more than $75. And that is because once you arrive on Avalanche, you're going to want to be able to do stuff. And without Aave X tokens, you won't be able to power any transactions. So they give you a tiny amount just so that you can get started, and then you can go onto Pangolin, swap over and get some Aave X of your own.
So I'm going to time this out now and see how long it takes. I'm going to start my stopwatch and click on transfer. So my native asset needs to be wrapped to transfer it through the bridge. I was expecting that. The first things first, wrap my ETH. So we'll just run through this and then time the process and see how long it takes. I'll get back to you after we've done it. So now we've bridged our assets over to Avalanche. So what's nice here is that the moment you do that, you get this beautiful new web page that's kind of inviting and saying, hey, welcome to the Avalanche ecosystem. It tells you your transaction has happened. And we can see here the transaction details. On the Ethereum side, it was 9 minutes. But once we actually got over to the Avalanche side, it took 17 seconds. It cost us less than $1. The gas fee on the Ethereum side was $8.25. And now, so once you bridged over, you just need to make sure that you add wrapped ETH to your MetaMask wallet, and then you'll be able to see it here. But all in all, if you look at the timer here, whole time, just under 12 minutes to bridge across. So not super fast, but if you're committed to going and playing on the Avalanche ecosystem, then I think you can stomach that. But what I loved is the way suddenly once you were over on the other side, it felt like you were entering a new country, entering a new world. I know it's a small thing, but those little user interface touch points, those user experience touch points, they matter. And they mean that, you know, using the Block Explorer, using the bridge, I just feel positively about Avalanche. I can't explain it. There's just a sense of finesse and quality and friendliness to it. Really nice.
If there is to be a DeFi Summer Part 2, I have a feeling it started with Avalanche Rush. But what's on the horizon now for Avalanche? Well, wallet redesigns, the launch of the first initial litigation offering from Rival, which is a brand new concept to me, but it's one of the 2 featured products on the Aave Labs front page, so they clearly think it's going to be a big deal. But what stands out on the roadmap is the commitment to upgrading the bridge rapidly and often. Smoothing the passage for skeptics to take advantage of the products on offer is clearly a major concern for the team. Avalanche wasn't at all what I thought it would be. The overwhelming impression I get here is one of finesse. The product works, it's easy to jump in with MetaMask and get going, and the Block Explorer is one of the best I've ever seen. There are some intriguing variations on the POS mechanism, and it seems to capture a lot of the big ideas from Cardano and Polkadot, while also treading a philosophical path of inclusion, diversity, flexibility, and non-maximalism. And if the early success of Avalanche Rush is anything to go by, I'm clearly not the only one who's been impressed. Turkish tech is legit, and how often do we say that? This has been the Defiant. Hadi!